Today we go from beggar to farmer. And of course you already know we're not using vanilla Skyrim. Today we're using a mod pack called Nolvus, which is a mod pack with some of the most beautiful graphics in the business. Every town has been overhauled. There's new quests for you to conquer. Combat has 4 different stances for you to choose from, changing up the animations depending on the one you choose. And it even affects first person. There are a whole bunch of character customization options, so your role-playing potential is unlimited. Not to mention all the new armors and weapons added for you to go and find. I'll leave the links down in the description for this mod pack if you are interested, of course. But for now, let's get started. The dangerous world of Skyrim has ravaged many a family over the years. This is the story of one of those families. And although some unfortunate events happened, this tight-knit family is ready for a change. Our main character used to be a soldier in the Imperial Legion, but due to an eye injury, his days as an archer were over. The mom, however, was a healer at the temple, and together they had 2 kids, one who seemed to gain the skills of her father's archery, and then one whose skills are unknown still, as she was bit by a vampire in the slums of Riften due to an unfortunate accident in these slums. She did have a sort of blood fairy to fight those appetite cravings though, but enough was enough. It was time to make a new life and not just settle for this place they now called home. And since they used to own a pretty well-off farm, managing to luckily save 1 goat, that was their goal. They needed to earn some money, find their way out of Riften, and start a new life on a farm. The only question was, how? The first thing we needed to do was get some gold, so it was time to leave the slums for now. When we got outside, however, we were in luck. There was a dead member of the Thieves Guild, and he was stacked with some items. So this is our chance to take this stuff. Maybe we can pawn this stuff off. So we went over to the pawn prawn. We sold these stolen goods, and now we had ourselves a hefty 542 septims. If the family was going to make it out of Riften though, we would need some way for the family to defend each other. So we ended up picking up a hunting bow, some arrows, and then 1 more dagger. So now our girl was equipped with the bow and arrows, and we gave our vampire daughter a dagger to protect herself. We were slightly equipped, and that would have to do for now. So it was time to set out. The family's new life was ahead. We just had to successfully make it over to Whiterun. So we all walked the path. And I gotta say, this was a beautiful day. The greens were greens, the birds were chirping. And so far there was no danger in sight until we ran into a frostbite spider. But our goat went in head first and started headbutting this thing. And since we had skills from the Imperial Army, spiders weren't nothing. This family unit was going to be tough to beat. Now if we continued the normal path, we'd run into a bandit hideout. That wouldn't be good news. So we chose to use an alternate path. We extinguished a few of these rats and then continued on our way. We eventually made it to Shore Stone, where we had the opportunity to see what we were striving for, our own self-sustaining farm. And nothing was going to stop us. So we took a quick rest for some lunch, because the wifey for lifey could make some delicious horker stew. Damn. But afterwards it was time to head off again. We had a lot of ground to cover. It unfortunately started raining though, and it was getting pretty bad out. We ended up having to take refuge in this cave. The storm was too bad to just be out there. Plus we've been traveling all day. This would be a good time to rest up. We just had to make sure this place was safe. And so far it wasn't. Bandits had made this place their home. So now we had to take them out first. So the goat and I took lead. We learned that our vampire daughter had that magic power, and we had slain our first bandit as a family unit. And now it was time to upgrade ourselves. We now had some new gear, making the next bandit even easier to take down. We had slain the rest of the bandits, and now we suited up the rest of the family with some new gear. We took some time to rest in this cave, but the next morning it was time to head out. And it was a frosty morning, so it was a good thing we had some new fur armor. So we made our way back down the hill. The fog started rolling in, and visibility was becoming slim. We then heard the howls of wolves, and there was a pack of them on our tail. So we had to act as another family unit and take these guys out. Good job, team. On the way to Whiterun, we had the opportunity to sightsee, gazing at the natural beauties of the world, and then having to sneak past a giant camp. Eventually though, we got closer and closer to Whiterun. We just had to survive a few more spots, and one of those spots happened to be Valtheim Tower. This tower was blocking this family's path to freedom. We had no choice but to go through them. So we entered into combat with these bandits, and we started hacking and slashing these guys. The wife was providing those deep heals, and these bandits were absolutely getting executed. Even the goat was putting in work. Damn, this was like the Civil War all over again. But these bandits weren't battle hardened. These guys fell pretty quick. The bandits had all been slain, and now the way forward to Whiterun was clear. We did end up making it to Whiterun during the nightfall, so we couldn't sell all of the goods that we collected. So for now, we had to make camp outside of town. The Khajiit caravan outside let us stay the night, and it was definitely more of an upgrade than sleeping in the sewers of Riften. When morning came, the family headed straight to the Jarl. We asked Avenici if he knew of any plots of land we could occupy, and to our disbelief, there was one such spot. It was right on the outskirts of Whiterun. The only thing was this place was haunted. That's the reason nobody wanted it. So if we could get rid of the spirits, we would have ourselves a free plot of land. So before heading over to check out the spot, we ran over to Belethor's. We sold the various goods we've been picking up, which net us some pretty good money. And afterwards, it was time to head over. Things were now looking on the up and up, as long as we could rid ourselves of this curse at least. So we made our way through the plains of Whiterun, sneaking past a few more giants, and just enjoying the smell of nature. We stopped to have some mud crab for lunch, having ourselves a bit of crab leg. But as the sun set, we found our location, where we were quickly attacked by a ghost. This was the ghost of the last farmer that lived here, so we sent him to his final resting place. We now had to find out what was happening, so we started our investigation. We had to solve the mystery, because this was a beautiful plot of land. So we entered inside looking for clues. The kids were already making themselves comfortable, and then we stumbled upon a journal. There was a hidden laboratory here that we needed to find. This would point us to our next clue. So we found a staircase to what seemed like a basement, and then we found a button nearby. This opened up to the secret laboratory, where we found a dead body. She had been murdered, and then the ghost of this murdered corpse showed themselves. We had to send them back to their final resting place as well. This place was getting creepier and creepier. But then we found another journal. We had to find out what happened to this person named Rin. We then searched the house for some more clues. And under the bed in the kids' room, we found another journal. This journal was leading us to the well on the farm. If we could find the well, we could find out what happened to this kid. And when we made it to the well, we found the child's remains. They were eaten alive by wolves. So we took the sword he used to defend himself, and we went to go return it back to the plantation. Maybe this would allow this kid to rest at ease. So we returned the sword, and the spirits came forth. We told them the family could rest in peace now, and that we would take care of the farm for them. They then gave us the keys to the Golden Hill plantation. We were now owners of this fine farm. We were one step closer to living our dream. Before we could get started though, we needed to get some rest. So we hit the deep sleep until the next morning. And now we had to get started on the basics of farm life. We found some seeds in the house, so we began planting our crops. We had planted our first field of crops, and now we were looking like true farmers. Now we were a tight-knit family, but we were gonna need some help running this farm. Luckily, we knew the right man for the job. This man served with me in the Civil War, and he was basically the same as our family, injured and just roaming the world. So we recruited our mans. We suited our man up, and then we found out we couldn't make him our steward. Damn. We had to find somebody else. So the next day we journeyed over back to Whiterun. We found a dark elf down on her luck, and she was more than happy to help out. We then made her our stewardess. She was in charge of recruiting more farmers to help us, and we were responsible for expanding the farm. We needed to build a couple of buildings, but we needed the necessary supplies. Luckily, this farm came fully equipped, so we began cutting some wood, and by the end we had plenty of lumber to spare. And luckily there was a quarry on the farm as well, so we had plenty of stone to make our supplies. It had taken a few days to fully get the supplies we needed, but eventually we had a working farm, a place to forge things we needed, a place to plant our crops, a well with fresh water, bees that would only please. And now we finally had livestock, our own fluffy cow, a few free-range chickens, always producing those organic eggs, and even a few more headstrong goat. We even managed to acquire a stallion, turning this family's dream into reality. Against all odds, they escaped the sewers of Riften and made the journey over to Whiterun in the hopes of creating a better life. And thankfully, they were successful.